Hi, everybody. This is Matt Andrews, Field Applications Engineer here at Altium. And today I wanted to talk to you about an exciting new feature that we have coming in the latest release of Altium Designer, Altium Designer 20. And that feature is called our dynamic compiler for our schematic environment. So one of the things that has always differentiated Altium from some of the competition out there on the market is the fact that we have a truly unified data model for PCB projects. So instead of having to produce a netlist out of a schematic editor, throw that over to a PCB editor, we have a compile operation that always builds the unified data model, and you simply have to switch the project over from a schematic environment to a PCB environment and import those changes. And again, rather than having to export a netlist out from that schematic tool to the PCB tool. But one of the things that you do have to do is while you add components to the project in the schematic environment, to actually build that data model, you do in fact have to compile the design to make sure that the new component that you add is in the project structure. And so with a really large project, that compile operation, depending on the size of the project and the number of components that you add to it from the last compile operation, so it could potentially take a lot of time to run that compile operation to build the new data model. And so, for example, here in Altium Designer 19, you can see that over here on the left, I have the navigator panel open, and I'm seeing the data model for the components in the project. And what I want to do is I want to add a new capacitor in and add a new one in for C82, which would be the next one in the list here. So if I were to go ahead, double click on my components panel, add in a new capacitor, change the properties of it to the new reference designator, like so. So I'd change this from C question mark to C82, click enter, and I'll go ahead and connect it up with a couple of wires while I'm at it. So I'm adding in a new capacitor to this structure here. And again, I can see that my data model in the navigator panel has not been updated, because in Altium Designer 19, what I had to do to update that data model for the project is actually run the compile operation. So upon running the compile operation, if I scroll down, I can see that C82 is now in my project structure here. But with an Altium Designer 20, that compile operation is no longer needed to be run as its own operation. It's actually always happening dynamically now in the background. So here you can see I'm in Altium Designer 20, and I'm going to do the same exact thing as I did in Altium Designer 19. So I'll double click on this capacitor to place it in my schematic environment like so. Go ahead into its properties, do the same thing. I'll change its designator to C82, again being the next one in the list. Go ahead and click enter. Connect it up with a couple of wires as well, like so. And once I finish this operation and I navigate back over to the navigator panel here on the left, again, without running that compile operation, because it's always happening dynamically now in Altium Designer 20, as soon as I've added that component into my design, it dynamically gets added to the data model for the project. So this is potentially going to save a lot of time depending on the size of the project. If you have to run that compile operation across a very large schematic sheet, that could potentially add up to a lot of design time lost. So now in Altium Designer 20, as soon as you add in that component to the schematic sheet, it automatically gets added to the dynamic model and the unified model for the project. So hopefully this has been very useful information, and stay tuned for even more features for Altium Designer 20 coming down the line.